All right, shalom, brothers. I've been going over some stuff after talking to the Hebrew brothers up in Lamert Park yesterday and across the Crenshaw and King. I ran into some brothers, out there preaching. I respect, I'm saying? Shalom to you guys. Praises to y'all for that. But we do differ in a lot of beliefs, and I wanted to go over some things that we went over that differ from each other that I just don't seem to get. And I really don't believe that Esau is the white man totally. And these are the factors. I just could go ahead and get right into it. I wrote something down. Now, when Esau was born, he came out red all over like a hairy garment, as the scripture states. The word that was used to describe red in the Hebrew is H32. The same Hebrew word used to describe Esau's color or complexion, the Hebrew word H32 is the same word used to describe King David's complexion or color. Okay, so just for that instance, if Esau came out, okay, but the brothers are saying white, and you can see the blood through his skin, so he came out as a Caucasian looking man, and he was hairy, and he came out with no melanin, basically is what they're saying, with no melanin. But King David was described as the same word used in Hebrew, the exact same word, H32, that comes from the word Adon Me, that means red, from the earth, But these brothers are saying that it meant red, that you could see his blood through his flesh, like Caucasians, but they used the same word to describe King David's complexion. So was King David also a white man, a Caucasian? No. Okay, so that's just one thing I have a problem with that. It just doesn't match up. And then also Esau had two black women, or two dark melanated women, who came from the sons of Ham, Hittites. And he had wives but didn't have children. And then he also had a wife who was an Ishmaelite. And we all know Ishmael comes from Abraham, and he was mixed with Egyptian, which is a melanated people, dark melanated people. Right? So if Esau took two, even if he was white, and if he took three dark melanated wives and had children to produce the Edomites, clear science today shows you that recessive and dominant is still in our gene pools today, where dominant is overriding the recessive, because recessive is an Atlantic gene and dominant is a controlling gene that takes over. So even if Esau was white, having sex with two black women, the kid might come out as a yellowish complexion, a light yellow complexion, or of a complexion of a medium color, not as a white color no more. But the brothers say that he still continued to be white. Like, he continued, even if we had sex with those women, his children still came out Caucasian and hairy and white people looking. And I'm like, that don't make no sense, because even today science shows you, like me being mixed. I'm mixed with white, Chinese, and native Indian and Hebrew, black. And you would get a color probably like my color. You could see a kid today, like, it's a lot of kids who are people who are mixed with father's white, mother's white, black and black, and they coming out looking almost my color, a light skinned color. And that's not the case with these brothers for Esau. So that's just another situation I have a problem with. And then we have Herod. No, then Esau was located south of Judah, and he was on Mount Seir, which is Petra, and you could actually go on sites and see what Petra looked like, and I think you can see what the statues of the Edomites were. I'm not too sure, but I remember, I think, seeing some of that. But so even so, that they were located south of Judah. Okay, and if there were the white man, when did they ever migrate to Rome and to Europe and to France and to Denmark and to Germany, Sweden, and all this stuff where all these Caucasians are at right now? When did they migrate there from south of Judah? That's another thing that doesn't match up with my scriptural and historical references. And Herod was an Edomite. I did see a picture of Herod on Wikipedia of him depicted as a European Caucasian looking male. So okay, that is out there, but I don't know how valid that is. But even so, Edomites were, or well, Herod really was an Edomite who ruled over Judea, and he was a vassal to the Roman Empire. So the Romans put him as basically like a governor, of the province of Judea, where the Israelites were at. So if Romans put Edomites as the head, so how are Romans Edomites? If the Romans put a Edomite as the head, because the brother said that the Romans were Edomites. So it doesn't, well, the Romans were all the way in Rome and Italy and Greeks with amongst the Greeks and so forth, and they established their state as a city, as a separate state. You know what I'm saying? Away from the Greeks. So when did these Edomites become Romans and Greeks and barbarians and Germans and such? If Romans appointed a Edomite as the official of Judea. So that's another thing that has a problem. Even when you go to the Bible, when David was described, he was described as ruddy off the Hebrew word H32. Okay, the same word that was described as red. Red and ruddy is a word used in the context as a complexion. So when describing the color of somebody, this word was used in the context of a complexion. So when they described Esau, they described the color of his complexion as red from H32. And when they described David, they used the English word ruddy instead of red to describe the same word, H32, for him. So what I'm saying is, when you go to the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, Zondervan defines ruddy as a red or a fair complexion, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. So even in the Zondervan is letting us know that they know the Hebrews were of a dark skin color, melanated complexion. But when you go into ruddy, they use a fair complexion or a red complexion. Now, a fair complexion, by definition, fair is a definition when it's used as a reference to color, as a beautiful, as a clean, as a very dazzling, a very nice clear color. You know what I'm saying? A clear complexion, and it's a light complexion, in contrast to dark. So when they say a dark skin, so you could imagine a dark skinned person now, and then say a fair skin. So that person who was not as dark as a dark skinned person, but was a lighter complexion. And as a red complexion, when you go into the definitions of red, the English definition that they're translating these Hebrew words to. So when you go to red as a complexion out the Webster's College Dictionary is, when you go to the complexion aspect of red, is ruddy, florid. Florid is that's like fair. It's a beautiful, nice, what I'm saying, color. So ruddy, red, ruddy, florid, and 3, being or having a skin of a coppery hue. That's red. It's in here as a skin complexion. So when we're going back to describing people's skin complexions, we're getting ruddy and red, and that's the same H32 that described Esau, the same H32 that describes David, and it's described as a fair complexion, a lighter complexion of the dark skin complexion, a coppery hue. Because even when you look at a red horse, they have a brownish red complexion. That's what ruddy is. Ruddy is a brownish red complexion. It's a mixture of a light and a brown. Like, I think my arm, it will be considered of a ruddy color. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a brown color, but it kind of is a light brown, a reddish brown. Because when I get into the sun and I get tanned, my skin turns like a brownish red, like a clear, a healthy looking color. Because I got a nice skin complexion around my skin, is in my face, and I would think that will, after a long time in the sun, that would be more of a ruddy complexion. Because even when you look at the Egyptian pictures they have of Israelites, you have light, what they would call a ruddy, and then you have a dark complexion, which is the normal dark brown. Even when you go to the ruddy duck in a dictionary, you go to a red horse, the red tree. It's a mahogany dark brownish red color, and that's the color that was meant when they described Esau and they described King David, because it's the same word. So if Esau was white, that meant David had to be white. But no, Esau was a brownish red complexion. he has, well, I'm not going to say that necessarily, but David was a brownish red complexion, clearly. And if David was, Esau must have been that same red, that same word that meant to be a coppery hue, a reddish, a fair skin hue, of a lighter complexion than the usual dark that black people have that you see today. So that's just another discrepancy that we have amongst each other for me not to believe that white people are Esau. Plus, even more, I've just been studying that from the north, with all Japhet descendants mentioned in Ezekiel, mentioned in Jeremiah, that from the north country where all this desolations go come and all these problems go come, the north was always symbolic of something that's going to be coming with destruction after the north is coming. So when you come into the transatlantic slave trade, they came from the north. When you come into the Babylonians, they came from the north. But then when you come into the Syrians, they came from the north. And these kingdoms that are put in slavery are from the north, but the main ones that were being focused on in Ezekiel describing Gog and Magog and Tubal are the descendants of Japhet from the north. And the people who live in the north, in the far north, are Europeans, Caucasians, very low melanated people. The farther north you go, the less melanated it is gonna get. So and then for my other thing is that nowhere in the Bible does it state that Edom is going to be the fourth kingdom on the earth that is going to destroy and devour the earth, like Daniel describes the Roman Empire will be doing, which are Europeans, which are Germans, British, the barbarians that came across and mixed and mingled with the Romans and the Greeks, the Spanish and the Portuguese, which are the Latinos, the descendants of the Latinos of Rome, who branched off and speak Spanish and Portuguese, and then the Dutch, the Italians, the Khazars, and the Turks, and so forth. These are all European Caucasian people who from Japhet. So nowhere does it mention Edom as being this fourth kingdom. This is the fourth kingdom that is living today, that were the Antichrist will come out of, that was mentioned by Daniel in his dream, in his vision. And it was the Roman Empire, not the Edomite Empire. It was the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire used the Edomites as a vassal to rule over Judea as a governor. So what is this? Esau's the white man? No, they didn't say that. The Bible says that the Roman Empire is going to devour, destroy the earth. And what has this Roman Empire been doing? These Europeans been doing? They've been devouring, destroying the whole earth. Your British, your French, your Germans, your Khazars, your Latinos, your Portuguese, and your Spaniards, and the whole flock up there in the far north. Those are your fourth kingdom, your fourth empire, that the Bible states that's going to be destroying the earth. And then most likely they descend from Japhet, not Edom, because Edom was a vassal to the Romans. So it's not likely that these people could be Caucasians, Edomites. It's most likely these Edomites are the Sephardim Jews who live southern of Judea, who have a more original dialect closer to the Hebrew, because these other Ashkenazi Jewish people who make up 80% of the Jewry of the Jewish Khazar people are from Germany and from the north. You feel me? And they speak Yiddish. They don't speak Hebrew. They speak a Yiddish language, which is a mixture of Hebrew and their Germanic and their European words and definitions. So just by compiling all this together, man, it's far-fetched for me to believe that the East Edomites are the white man. You know what I'm saying? It's just not likely. They're most likely are the Sephardim Jews that are more darker tone, are more of I could say like a brownish, whitish, yellowish color. They're not really Caucasian colored, but they are Caucasian features and looking. But far not exactly as to them. They're more of a Palestinian, a so-called Arabian. Not even Arabian. I don't want to use that because the rare Arabs are black, melanated people. But you understand what I'm saying. So it's a little short video just to see what's going on about the Esau situation. These facts right here are clearly pointing to that Esau is not the white man. But I will give a more educated lesson, a more thorough lesson, just for practice. But shalom, brother.